following program was produced by the United States Courts.
Hello, I'm Chris Thomas with the United States Courts. In this edition of Court Shorts, we focus on the importance of a fair and impartial judiciary. But what does that concept mean? And what impact does that have on your life as a law-abiding citizen? In this broadcast, students question federal judges from across the country on these principles. How do they affect judicial decisions? And more importantly, what does that mean to you?
Why is a fair and impartial judiciary important?
It's important to count on a fair and impartial judiciary because people are going to settle their disputes, but they need to have a place they can come where they have confidence that they will be treated fairly and that that dispute will be settled fairly, whatever the outcome.
They know if they come to a court, they know that a judge is not influenced by politics. The judge has the opportunity to make a fair determination based upon the law, based upon precedent, and based upon the rule of law.
What is judicial independence?
It's so important for federal judges especially to have the freedom to say, Congress has gone too far in this area, the people have gone too far in some areas.
If we didn't have judicial independence, judges would be tempted to, or might need to tailor their decisions for what the public wanted as opposed to what the law said.
Judicial independence does not mean that judges are free to impose their own bias. We're governed by a rule of law, and you read all of the things from the Founding Fathers forward, and the rule of law and not men are what guide the judiciary and ultimately judicial independence.
Do judges have unlimited power?
We are bound by the rule of law. We must look to the facts of each case. We must look to the arguments of the parties. We must look to the law itself and how it comports with the Constitution, and we must make the decision based only on those things, not how we feel about it and not how somebody else feels about it.
We do not have unlimited power, and that you always have the right to appeal. And so there is always a balance on our decision-making process.
We're independent, but we're not all-powerful, and I think the public needs to be aware of that.
Should judges be accountable to public opinion?
For most judges, I think what's important to us is that people understand we're doing the best to make it a fair process and to follow the law.
We are appointed for life so that we do not have to make popular decisions. Sometimes our decisions are to protect the small person, the individual, but it's based on standards, constitutional principles that have served our country well.
The outcome of the case is driven by the rule of law, and not to sit and wonder about the outcome of a case based upon public opinion.
Can judges make whatever decisions they wish?
We have to follow the laws that Congress writes. We have to follow the decisions of the Supreme Court and the higher courts, and we don't just get to make it up.
Even if the judge doesn't like the decision that the law leads to, the judge must make that decision.
I've had to make some tough decisions where sometimes I do personally disagree with the law, but it is the law. And I'm confident with our system of government, the checks and balances, that we're called upon to apply the rule of law. And if people then want to change the law, then there are avenues to change it.
How does the judicial system correct errors?
If somebody is dissatisfied with the outcome, because frankly in every case one side wins and one side loses, then they can take that case up to an appellate court. And the appellate court consists not just of one judge, but of 3 judges. If they're dissatisfied with that opinion, then they can take it to the full circuit court. And then finally, if they're dissatisfied with the circuit court opinion, they can take it all the way to the United States Supreme Court.
But if the people in general or Congress doesn't like what the Supreme Court did, they can try to get the law changed. Or they can modify the law to make it more in sync with the Constitution. So there's always some place that you can go if you don't like what the court did.
For videos, podcasts, games, homework help, and much more on judicial fairness, explore the Educational Resources section of www.uscourts.gov. With this edition of Court Shorts, I'm Chris Thomas.